Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to FearlessChoice.com, college football, DFS, week 10 strategy show. Wow, it's already week 10. P. Cole here. I'm solo. My usual partner, Adam, had some personal issues. He had to step away, so I'm running this solo today, so just kind of bear with me a little bit. But first of all, your FearlessChoice.com, new site. $25 a month. The first 2 months, we cover everything, every single sport. This sports is our specialty. If you play all these little small sports, we cover it, especially college football. We got college football tomorrow night. We got 2 games, and we got the huge slate on Saturday, 13 games, which we're going to go over today. We got Saturday afternoon slate. Then we got NHL. We've been really rocking NHL. We have a free Discord, so if you want to join that, you can see what everything's going on in our winning lineup room. What else we got going on? NASCAR. We got NASCAR this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. College basketball starts Tuesday. I'll be running that. We'll be having live streams for all that. So this is like awesome time of the year right now. Soccer, esports going on. My man Big E, European hoops, NBA. So a lot going on. But we're here tonight to discuss the main slate Saturday, 13 games. So once again, check us out, youfearlesschoice.com. Kind of get right into it. We're getting to that point right now where we're past Halloween. It's November. Before you know, it's gonna be Thanksgiving. Then it's gonna be bowl games. So a lot of these games are kind of important right now. So we're here. What I'm going to be discussing pretty much is pretty much cash games, and not throwing some GPP plays. Going over maybe some projections we have and so on. So I'm going to do a game by game. 13 games this week. A lot going on. So bear with me. So the first game, 12 p.m., Missouri at Georgia. So Georgia is obviously a big favorite right now. Georgia is a 38.5 favorite. Georgia's implied is 49.25. Missouri's implied 10.75. Over under of 60. Georgia's got one of those once in generation defense. Pretty much, you don't play if you're playing Georgia, you don't mess with DFS on that slate. So even this game, it's not a great DFS game, but one thing though is Georgia's playing against Missouri, who is they are the worst rushing defense in the nation. Missouri is, I think, ranked 130 out of 130 teams in rush defense. Everybody runs all over them. So still get 2 running backs from Georgia. Zamir White, of course, he could get 3 touchdowns, but he's 7-1. GPP only probably. He's not going to get the volume we want for a cash play. He's going to get at the most 10 to 14 touches. I do have some interest in James Cook at 5.9, $5,900. Cook is probably going to play more. Let's say right now, Missouri's allowing the 11th most points this season at 36, 8th most yards per game, 475, and by far the worst rush defense in the country. Cook is, obviously behind Zamir White, second best rusher on the team, but we probably will see maybe James Cook at 5.9 get a little bit extra work because of course, it's going to be a blowout for Georgia. He's only averaging 9 opportunities per game, averaging 10.5 fantasy points per game, but this could be the type of game for him. He's only gone over double-digit fantasy points, I think, twice this season. Yeah, twice against Florida and against Arkansas, where he was 12 for 87. But GPP only, but if anything, I'm leaning toward James Cook at 5.9. Any kind of value plays, possibly Kenny McIntosh at 3.9. He can get you a touchdown, 75 yards. But anything else? Nope. On the Missouri side, nope. You're going against Georgia. Once in generation defense, awesome defense. You just don't play anybody from Missouri in this game. So GBP only. Okay, let's move on to Liberty and Ole Miss. This is like 3 or 4 really good games in the slate, and there's a bunch of crappy games. The Ole Miss Liberty game is kind of a DFS friendly game. Let me see here. We got looking for odds. Usually I don't do odds. So where is Ole? Okay, so Liberty 28.50 They're implied. Mississippi, Ole Miss 38. Ole Miss is 9.5 favorite. Said playing Ole Miss over under 66.5. So I think this is like the third highest implied game. Probably, yeah, I think it's the third highest implied game to slate. The big question, of course, going to be on this slate is Matt Corral's health. I think Corral is good to go. The problem is Matt Corral's 9.6. There's other quarterbacks I think we like in cash. Of course, Matt Corral GPP play. All right. So my producers just spoke to me about we have questions on YouTube. So yeah, we'll get to those games. Oklahoma, West Virginia, Michigan State, and all that. So we'll get that like halfway through the show. But moving on. So we got Matt Corral, GPP only. You can always pay up for him. Right now he's averaging 275 yards per game, 15 touchdowns. He's only got 2 interceptions on the year, 519 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns. So Corral's a great play, but 9.6 to me, GPP only. A lot of question marks at receiver. So if you're a member of YFC, you want to be in our Discord on Saturday. But it's as we get more news. Dontario Drummond right now, he left the last week, did not return. He's 6'5". If Drummond doesn't play, and I've been searching all week for news, I haven't seen any news yet on Drummond. If he doesn't play, we actually have some really good values that could pop up in the slate. So we got one play is we have Jaden Jackson at 3K. And then we have Jacob Pearson at 4.9. Pearson had a big game last week. Finally, Western Kentucky transfer. He was, what do you have? 7 catches for 135 yards. Both those guys will be in play. It all depends on Drummond. Drummond doesn't go. We finally have value because we want value on a slate, and we'll see as we move along here. We have a bunch of quarterbacks we like, a bunch of running backs we like. They're expensive, so we got to find value. We got to somehow unearth it. But it could come from this Mississippi game if Drummond doesn't play. There's also another receiver who I actually don't mind from Ole Miss is Casey Kelly at 4,300. I mean, Ray said their depth chart is terrible. Jonathan Mingo is out, is doubtful. It's a Drummond left the Auburn game. Braylon Sanders missed the Auburn game. We had no news yet on Sanders. So Kelly last week caught 7 passes. No, actually 7 of his total receptions came in the Auburn game. So if Drummond doesn't play, I think Casey Kelly's needs to play at 4.3. John Rice Plumlee, the former quarterback, it's kind of an interesting GPP play also. These guys are beat up. So Jaden Jackson at 3.0, Jacob Pearson at 4.9. Finally had a decent game. The game before they left a whole bunch of points on the field. Some of these guys can possibly cash plays if Drummond doesn't play. The running backs are cheap. You got Snoop Connor at 5.8. Problem is with Snoop, he's touchdown dependent, but he does have 10 touchdowns on the year. Then you got Henry Parrish at 4.9. Parrish is much cheaper, and Parrish is probably I probably like Parrish over Snoop, especially when you're talking $900 difference. He's got the last 4 games. Let me see, he's got 18 carries, 10 carries, 10 carries, 12 carries, receptions, 1, 5, 2, and 1. And you think possibly Ole Miss may be killing the clock and pounding Liberty through the ground. So if anything, I do like Parrish at 4.9, kind of a borderline cash GPP play. On the Liberty side, Malik Willis, 9.3, great play. To me, though, he's more of a GPP option, not a cash play. But I would say, there's like 5 really good quarterbacks in the slate. I'd probably rank him more like towards 6 or 7. But Willis can be a double bonus guy. This is his chance to shine on the big stage. He's got 21 touchdowns, 6 picks on the year. It's a great ratio. 600 yards, 684 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns. So Willis at 9.3 to me, GPP play. But hey, if you want to run him in cash, I'm not going to argue with you. We have projected around 29 DK points. So to me, GPP play. Who else we got? The receivers for Liberty, nothing great. Demario Douglas at 6K. He's their WR1. Nothing special, though. He's got 37 catches on the year, 562 yards, 5 touchdowns. But he is going to he's going to get the volume. He's going to get targets. But that's pretty much it. And then possibly CJ Daniels at 5'3". He's got 7 touchdowns on the year. So even though this game is a high projection game, 66.5 over under. Liberty is all GPP plays. Ole Miss probably GPP plays unless Drummond doesn't play. And then we have some receivers we want to probably get into our cash lineups. And Matt Corral is borderline cash GPP. So, and once again, we got to monitor Corral status also. All right, next game is another huge game for DFS purposes: Wake Forest and Carolina. So right now, we got Wake Forest implied 37 points. Carolina implied 39.5. Carolina is a 2.5-point favorite, so which is a really close game. Their over-under is 76.5. I think that's the highest in the slate. Yes, it's the highest in the slate, 76.5. Kind of a side note here. This is actually a scheduled home-and-home game, so it's not an ACC conference game, which is kind of weird. So they're playing outside of ACC rules. Probably best game of slate. 2 monster quarterbacks going. Our man Sam Howell, and then we got the Georgia Tech receiver Sam Hartman. The problem is Hartman's 10K, Howell 9.8. To me, Howell's a core play. Howell's probably one of the best plays on a slate. So you want to get Howell in your cash game. To me, great play. This guy pretty much every week 100-yard rusher. With his rushing floor, he's pretty much a can't miss play. Then he's got a receiver, Josh Downs. The problem is Josh Downs is 8'7". Downs is the best receiver on the slate. But the problem is, can you get to him? If you can get to Josh Downs, you're playing him. Stud. Problem is he's 8'7". So there may be some avenues that I was messing around with. You can get Downs, but you pretty much have to drop down a lot of value in your flex and receiver spot. Anybody else? Ty Chandler, the running back for Carolina, probably a GPP play. I am kind of interested in him, though. I'm kind of intrigued by him at 6'6". He's got 6 touchdowns in the last 4 games. So, but he is 7K. He's sub 7K at 6'6". If anything, though, top GPP play. I'm probably not going to mess around with him in cash. So Howell's a cash play. Josh Downs is a cash play. On the other side, on the Wake Forest side, Sam Hartman. To me, Hartman is not a 10K player. And I'm one of the biggest Sam Hartman fans. I never thought I would see Sam Hartman at 10K. But hey, if anything, I know people that are playing him over Howell. He's with 22 touchdowns on the year, only 3 interceptions. He's run 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. Last 2 games, he's got almost 100 DraftKings points. So right now, this Wake Forest team is firing on all cylinders. And, one of their opponents was Army, which actually, is not a pushover. Carolina will give up passing yards. We saw him give up to Virginia early in the year, 556 yards. Hartman's probably not going to slow down. To me, though, I think he's a GBP play. I would rather use Sam Howell in a spot 9-8, $200 cheaper than Hartman. But you want to use Hartman at 10K. I'm not going to argue against you. He's having a great year. I said I'm a Sam Hartman guy. But to me, it's just a risky play. I saw a stat. Wake Forest has actually scored at least 35 points in every game this season. So Wake Forest is on fire. I see Walter Riddell just made a comment in the YouTube, but we used to argue about this last year. I was a Sam Hartman guy. Walter hated Sam Hartman, but he's finally actually coming through. But to me, GPP play only this week. Great receivers. We got A.T. Perry right now. A.T. Perry is 7'2". Of course, he's a GPP cash play if you can get him in there. Ja'Cory Roberson is 8K. To me, Roberson is a better play, but both great plays. Perry right now is, let me see, what's his stats? He is 36 catches, 716 yards, 8 touchdowns on a year. Roberson, 43 catches, 737 yards, 6 touchdowns. Both great plays. They have so many weapons. Perry probably has the highest floor, and Roberson probably has the highest ceiling. So, if anything, probably Perry, and also $100 cheaper, probably a better cash play, I would say. Both of them, if you can get either of them in, great, play them. Let me see. Yeah, so I would say Roberson more of a GBP play, especially because of the price. Play AT Perry if you can at 7-2. Christian Bell Smith. I mean, he's averaging almost a touchdown a game. So he's got 7 touchdowns on a year. He doesn't get involved in the receiving game too much. So probably GDP only. It's probably it in this game. So Howell, great play, core play, lock him into cash if you can. Josh Downs, great play, but he's 8-7. If you can get Josh Downs in, hook him up with Sam Howell, you do it. Especially in GBPs, or you can game stack this game. But if you get GBPs in, you lock in Josh Downs with Howell. A.T. Perry, great play. Jacory Roberson, always great play. I also mentioned Ty Chandler, probably my favorite GBP of the slate. Anybody else? Maybe Taylor Moran at 3-8, Wake Forest, if you need some value, but probably not messing with him in cash. So that's the Wake Forest Carolina game. We're going to send some money there. Let me move on to another high scoring game, actually, with SMU and Memphis. We do have some injury status we need to pay attention to. But right now, in this SMU game, we got, SMU right now is a favorite on the road, 4.5. Their implied is 37.50. Memphis implies 33. So 70.5 over under, which is actually the second highest scoring game in the slate. But we may not be without Memphis's quarterback, Seth Hennigan. If Seth Hennigan doesn't play, to me, talking bets, I would be pounding this under in a second. It's a high order, 70.5. If Hennigan doesn't play, you got Pete Parrish come in, who's real bad. And you guys, and I was one of them that fell for it. I played Pete Parrish a couple weeks ago when Hennigan was out. There's no way they hit that 70.5 over under. And Parrish is the quarterback. If Hennigan is in the lineup, they're explosive. Hennigan, great GBP play, 8-2. And then all his receivers are in play. Calvin Austin III, definitely in play, 8-4. Austin's one of the best receivers in football. Well, it's Jaden Ivory. Sean Dykes wasn't much the last 2 weeks because Hennigan's not playing. All those guys are in play. Only though if Hennigan is playing. And I've been searching, no information yet about Hennigan. Probably more of a game time decision. At least it's a 12 p.m. game, so we should know though before lock at 12. On the SMU side, starting actually with the running backs, and I think he's probably going to be, if Bentley is out, I'm all over Trey Siggers at 6-1 for SMU. I think it's a great play, possibly even cash. Last 2 games, he's touched the ball 24 times, and I know he's had 24 DK points and 20 DK points. Siggers, great play at 6-1 if Bentley is out. Tanner Mordecai, 9K. Kind of a lock, probably with a 300-yard bonus. You do get a little bit of savings though, and Mordecai's 9K compared to some of these other guys like the Howells and the Sam Hartmans. Probably top 5 quarterback. So I do like Mordecai. Mordecai I probably consider maybe 2 or 3 after Sam Howell. He's a little bit cheaper, 9K. Anybody else here? The problem is his receivers, all great receivers for Mordecai. The problem is you don't know who's going to have the big game. You got Danny Gray, who is 6'2", Reggie Roberson, who is 5'7", Rashid Rice, 5'6", all around the same price. Grant Calcaterra actually kind of like at 4K. All but pretty much all GBP plays because we don't know who's going to go off in that game, but one of them is going to go off. Especially with this over-under being so high, and SMU's implied being at 37.50, which right now is the top 5 on the slate. All right, so Mordecai possibly cash game. The rest of these guys, Gray, Roberson, Rice, all GPP plays, but one of them's going to go off. Have a big game. Okay, so that's SMU, Memphis. Then we get into the Illinois, Minnesota game. So at first look in this game, you think that, okay, there's not much DFS goodness, more of a better real life game than a DFS game. Let me find, why can't I find these stats on? So we got Illinois. Okay, Illinois implied is 14.75 points. Minnesota, 29.25. Here we go. Over under of 44. So said not a great DFS game right away, but we do have some running backs that we do like in this game. Starting with Illinois, I have no problem at all using Chase Brown at 5'6". I think Chase Brown's a solid play. But more or less on the Minnesota side, we got two guys from Minnesota that we like for cash. Marquise Irving, 6'3", and Kai Thomas at 5K. So Kai Thomas at 5K is probably close to a cash lock. We're gonna bring up a couple other running backs that we really like though, but Kai Thomas at 5K, yeah, he's probably a cash lock though. Marquise Irving is 6'3", $1,300 more. Irving is probably the most talented of the two. The volume is pretty much the same as these two. So Thomas, last 2 games, 21 touches, 139 yards, 1 touchdown. 21 touches, 106, 0 touchdowns. Then you go to Irving, 15 touches, 105, 1 touchdown, 19 touches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. So both these guys are getting heavy workloads. But when you can get Kai Thomas at $1,300 cheaper, Thomas is probably more your cash play. Marquise Irving is your GPP play. Because everybody's going to go to Kai Thomas, and you can go to Irving and have a huge game and could possibly take over slate for you. But beside that, that's it. I'm only looking at running backs here. I'm not messing with the Tanner Morgans. I'm not messing with Cole Kramer from Minnesota. I am a Chris Aubin-Bell fan, but GPP only. So if anything, we're looking at running backs, especially Kai Thomas and cash, Marquise Irving GPP, and Chase Brown from Illinois GPP. Next game we got here is Ohio State and Nebraska. Not a bad game. Ohio State is on the road. Nebraska's the home team. Ohio State, so they're favored on the road, 14.5, so touchdown and a half, 40-25 implied. Nebraska, 25-75 implied, and it's a 14-point home dog. The only guy for Nebraska I'm really looking at personally, AJ Martinez. I don't mind Amart. I think he's decent price at 7K. He's a dual threat. He doesn't always look pretty, Amart, but he pretty much seems to get it done usually by the time the game is over with. The points are usually there. And actually, Amart has had 22 DK points in every game but one, and that was the Minnesota game. So, yeah, Amar's in play at 7K. I'm not messing with anybody else. I don't mind Ramir Johnson at 5'4" to running back, but that's it. Now on the Ohio State side, though, actually no. Let me go back. So I had a note to myself about how Ohio State's main weakness in defense is the run defense, and you want to run at their linebackers. So yeah, that actually gives me a more upgrade, a plus to Amart, and possibly Nebraska's running back Ramir Johnson. Okay, Ohio State. So all solid plays. CJ Stroud, 8'6". He's not nothing. I played him last week in a 7 p.m. game. He kind of hurt me though, but solid play. The problem is with Stroud at 8'6", he's going to need 400 yards and 4 touchdowns at value. Can do it definitely, but probably more of a GPP play. Trayvon Henderson, 7'9". Not a bad play. The problem is there's a bunch of other running backs I like at 7-9. So Trayvon Henderson, GBP play, but can definitely get there. And then you got the three receivers. You got Chris Olave at 6'9". Finally, Garrett Wilson's a little bit more expensive at 7-1, but both great plays. And then Jackson Smith, the Jiba at 5'8". So this is more of, I definitely game stack this game if you're running more than one lineup of GBPs. You do have the blowout factor to worry about. I do feel like this could be an Olave game. We haven't seen a big Olave blowout yet, and it's coming. And he's been quiet. So if anything, though, I'll probably be leaning toward Chris Olave at 6'9". But all these guys, great GPP plays. Game stack this game if you want. The over-under in this game is a 66, so not bad. But pretty much more GPP plays, if anything, in this game. Myron Kidd mentioned Minnesota's running back you, and it's true. You know what you're getting with Minnesota, especially with the Williams kid out now. So we're getting both those guys. And like I said before, if anything, you lean toward Kai Thomas and GBPs and Irving, Kai Thomas and Cash, and Irving and GBPs. All right, so our next game, Auburn, Texas A&M. That's the 3:30 game. That's the first 3:30 game we have. Auburn's on the road. They are 4.5 dogs. 22-25 implied for Auburn. Texas A&M 26-75 and a 49 over and under. So I'm not seeing much I like in this game for DFS purposes, especially for cash. If anything, these guys are all a little bit expensive. I'm not paying 6-7 for Devin Ashane. Even Isaiah Spiller, who I like, $7K, I think is, if anything, is appropriately priced, probably a little bit heavy. All these guys, though, I'm not paying him in cash. Tank Bigsby, great game last week, though. But now he's going up against A&M. GPP only. I'm not touching him in any kind of cash. Especially I'm not touching Bo Nix at 7.5. So I don't mind Giannis Smith at 5.6. I don't mind the price there, but GBP only. So this is a GBP game. Guys are all expensive to me. Kind of just move on. Next game, Baylor at TCU. This is another one of the 3:30 games. Baylor's on the road. Baylor's a touchdown favorite. 32.5 team implied. TCU 25.5 team implied. 58 over under. Starting off first, Abram Smith, one of my favorite plays on the slate. To me, Abram Smith's a lock at running back. He's a lock in my cash games. 7-3. He's pretty much taking over the running back as the main running back. I still like Tristan Ebner at 4-1, but Smith is finally, and he's earned it. He's a great running back. I have no problem going back to him. We all played him last week. He could have even scored more points last week. TCU is giving up right now 210 yards per game on the ground, 5.4 rushing yards per attempt, 2.2 touchdowns. So Abram Smith, to me, is one of the top plays on the slate. I love the guy. I'm locking my main lineup, and nobody's going to talk me off him right now. I mean, possibly can Saturday morning, but we saw him at a great game against Texas. Baylor is going to be content to run that ball as much as they can, and they're probably going to run even more because they're not playing catch up like they did Fort Worth. So Abram Smith, great play. Tyquan Thornton, the receiver, 6K. Thornton's an NFL player. He's going to get drafted. He's going to be a stud in the NFL. Right now, 37 catches, 601 yards, 5 touchdowns. Love Tyquan Thornton. Probably more of a GPP play. No problem playing him in cash. And then he picks Gary Bohannon. Gary Bohannon is 7-7. Played him in my cash lineup last week. He pretty much got the job done. Hey, I cashed on my lineups. I wasn't thrilled with him, but yeah, he probably is a cash play again this week at 7-7. I probably would have no problem going back to him. Last week, he completed 18 of 31 passes, 222 yards, a couple interceptions, though. He did run one in. If I remember, I think he did run one in. Yeah, he's 5 for 27 on the ground, ran one in, but didn't have any touchdowns in the air, but 2 picks. But I don't mind using Bohannon and Cash as a cash quarterback at 7-2 or 7-7 to maybe be a little bit different and maybe get you up to one of the higher price guys. But there's a couple other quarterbacks I'm looking at here. Anybody else on the TCU side? Possibly, actually. So first of all, Zach Evans. We have no idea what's going on with Zach Evans right now. The last we know is I just saw a note actually from one of the beats. Let me call it up here. And it looks like he's been around the practice field. The big if he's going to play. But if I see Zach Evans warming up with the first team, and I have no problem playing him because I think Zach Evans is a great running back. All right, so if he doesn't play, Keandre Miller at 5'7", I think solid play. Probably more of a GPP play. Did a decent job last week. Actually, the last couple weeks when Evans was out. And then actually the whole second half of that game when Evans went crazy in the first half and then Miller came in and went crazy in the second half. I don't mind Keandre Miller at all, even possibly in cash. Probably more of a GPP play, but I like that. I like that Miller. That's what's Miller is. I just said is 5'7". He last week he had 102 yards, 14 carries, also caught the ball 4 times, 28 yards, and they beat Kansas State. So Miller's in play at 5'7". I think he's gonna be a good player. Now the other thing is what I think I'm seeing now is Max Duggan has not practiced for TCU. Remember, we got the whole new coaching situation here. Right now, it looks what I'm seeing is comments I'm seeing from Beats is Chandler Morris may be the guy on Saturday, and it looks like Meacham wants to see what Morris can do for a full game. So if Chandler Morris starts, I think he's like 4-5 as a quarterback. I would probably have no problem running Chandler Morris in a cash as a cash lock at that cheap price. He only needs like 10 DK points to make value. So stay in our Discord. Keep your eyes open for that. If Max Duggan doesn't play, which everything I'm seeing right now is Duggan's not going to play, then let's lock in Chandler Morris season and see what happens. I think it's a cash lock. The problem is though, is this game's at 3:30. So you got to have some moves you're going to make though, is if we don't get news on Max Duggan, because I'm not sure what we can do though, because with Morris being so cheap, if we can do this though, but it's a 3:30 game. Keep your eye out though. If we hear news that Duggan's out earlier, lock in Morris. Like I said, run the ball, running backs, terrible rush defense. We've learned that. Abram Smith's my man, play him. And even Tristan Ebner at 4-1 value play. You could possibly play both these guys. And we've seen that with the Michigan guys. Possibly play even both these guys, especially in GPPs. But I don't mind Tristan Ebner either at 4-1. All right, get away from that game. Oklahoma State, West Virginia. Another 3:30 game. Oklahoma State on the road. 3.5, so a field goal favorite. West Virginia. West Virginia is not a pushover defense. This is not the greatest, DFS game, but we do have some DFS plays here. First of all, Jalen Warren, a 6'4". To me, Jalen Warren is a lock with Abram Smith. Warren's a core play to me. Lock him in at 6'4". Way too cheap. It's embarrassing. That price to me is embarrassing for Jalen Warren. He got pulled. He got last week. Don't look at his numbers. He got pulled early. He got vultured when they killed Kansas. Just kind of don't even look at those stats. The game before though, he struggled a little bit against Iowa State. Iowa State is one of the best defenses in the country. But before that, though, he plays every snap. He's a bell cow. He's gonna get fed. He plays in the passing game. So not the greatest matchup, but he's gonna get his points. Jalen Warren at 6'4". Lock him in. Cash core play. Spencer Sanders, a quarterback at 7-1. Used him last week. He would have had a huge game if he didn't get pulled also after the first half. It was a blowout. Sanders actually coming together a little bit. Probably borderline, probably more GPP play at 7-1. On the West Virginia side, I'm a huge Letty Brown guy. 6'9". That's probably a Letty Brown price. We know Brown's going to get volume. The Oklahoma State defense, though, rush defense is not a pushover. They're only allowing 98.8 yards on the ground. So probably brings Letty to a GPP play. But we know what Letty could do, and Letty could come over and take over so slate. That's how good he is, but more of a GPP play, especially when Jalen Warren is sitting there at 6'4". Anybody else here? Tay Martin. Tay Martin, I think, is a good price at 6'7". Probably GPP play, but Tay Martin could also run the slate. I see him give me possibly 15 DK points. Last 2 games, 5 catches, 84 yards, 1 touchdown. Game before that, 4 catches, 30 yards, 1 touchdown, 80 yards, 1 touchdown. So yeah, Tay Martin, great. I love Tay Martin's receiver. 5-bar GPP play, but make him multi lineups, get him in your lineups. Okay, and on anybody else on West Virginia side, I did have a receiver mentioned here as a kind of a value play. Bryce Ford Wheaton's only 4.7. Now, okay, Winston Wright's got the higher upside, but we know Oklahoma State is not going to let Winston Wright get loose. So I could see this Bryce Ford Wheaton get a bunch of short receptions, can have a floor. He did have a couple touchdowns against a really good Iowa State defense. So Bryce Ford Wheaton at 6'7", no problem, actually. That could be one of your value plays if you have to get there. If you can score 2 touchdowns against Iowa State, you can score touchdowns on anybody. And that's pretty it from that game. Somebody just made a comment. Look at what Breece Hall did to West Virginia. Exactly. So lock in Jalen Warren. My main play, Warren and Smith. Boom. All right, keep moving on here. It's a big slate. Tulsa at Cincinnati. Man, I don't know what to think of this game, actually. You got Tulsa's on the road. Cincinnati's a 22.5-point favorite. Cincinnati's got 38 implied. They're like the 3rd, 4th highest scoring team on the slate. We know Cincinnati's going to turn it up a notch. They want to get the voters. They want to impress everybody to get up there in the rankings. But this whole team, to me, is all about Desmond Ritter and Jerome Ford. Ritter is running a little bit more. I don't know, man. 8.7, no, I still haven't seen it yet. GBP only. He did get them more last week on the ground. To me, GBP only. Jerome Ford at 8.3. Look at Ford's last 2 games. Touched about 18 times, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. Nothing great. 15 times, 90 yards, 1 touchdown. So I don't love either of these guys in cash. But GBPs, yeah, roll them all out there. Anybody in Tulsa side, nope. If anybody's in Cincinnati side, maybe Alec Pierce. He's 6'3", probably too expensive. Just GBP plays. You want to run a Cincy game, definitely. But don't be running these guys in cash. Brewer just hasn't done it for us this year. Next game we got Navy at Notre Dame. Navy on the road, 21-point dog. Notre Dame's a 34.25 implied, a 47.5 over/under. I don't know, man. I don't like messing with these service academies and DFS. We know they're going to suppress snaps. You're never great to play DFS against these guys. If anything, though, Kyron Williams, he looked great last week. He looked like the Kyron Williams from 2020. Huge game. What do you have? 22 touches, 199, right? And touchdown. At 7.7. I have too much respect for Navy, but cash/GBP play. That's probably it. On the other side, you may call me crazy, but I do have some interest in Isaac Rouse, the fullback for Navy at 4K. I played him a lot this year in these weekday slates. I kind of got burned by him last week, though. But we do know that Navy's going to run. He's had double-digit carries now in every game but one this year. So he doesn't put up huge numbers, doesn't get, a whole bunch of touchdowns. Usually he gets poached by, James Harris, I think. Harris is the other running back. He gets poached, but he's going to get his 80 yards, possibly a touchdown. Not bad at 4K for a lead runner for Navy. So if you're looking for somebody different that's going to be lower owned, take a chance on Isaac Rouse at 4K. But anybody else, Michael Meyer just hasn't been doing it at 5'8". GBP, of course. Cfb Dfs up to 6'1". No. So if anybody, Kyron Williams, run him in cash, great. Not cheap though, at 7'7". He saw him look great last week, but I don't usually mess with Navy the way they suppress the snaps. If anything, GBP plays only. Now we're getting down to the last couple of games here. So Penn State, Maryland. This is one of the later games. It's 3:30 game, right? Yep. Let me see. So Penn State's on the road, 10-point favorite, 32.75 implied. Maryland 22.75 implied, 55.5 over under. So what are we looking at this game? Right away, to me, Sean Clifford, 6K. Lock him in, cash. I think if you get Clifford at 6K, then you can play Sam Howell at the whatever he's 9.8. Or if you want to go Hartman. To me, it's Howell, but I think Clifford is a cash lock at 6K. Definitely. It's too cheap. Against Ohio State, 361 passing yards. And you'll say, I don't think he's getting healthier. They probably won't have to throw as much in this game, but Maryland's pass defense is terrible. We saw against Indiana, it's kind of a comparable opponent like Maryland. We saw Clifford do good before he got hurt in the Iowa game. But even the Iowa game, he was looking good before he got hurt. But I think he's back 100%. And I just saw some stats. Last year, he had 344 yards against Maryland, 6 touchdowns. So Maryland's on 260 yards on the year. Lock in Sean Clifford to me as your super flex, second quarterback at 6K. He's going to make value here against Maryland. Dotson's a play. Clippers receiver to at 7.6 though. Probably more GBP play. Because I like other guys. I would probably pick David Bell over Dotson, but Dotson's in play. Anybody on Maryland side, I'm not a little Tua fan. To me, just he's too erratic. If anybody, who I don't mind is this kid Carlos Carrera at 5'5". I could possibly see using him. He is. I mean, it looks like he's Tua's favorite target right now. I mean, ever since Dante Demas went down a couple weeks ago, Carrera had a huge game against Indiana. Now I can see it carrying over. Penn State is not a pushover, but he did have 5 receptions and did have a score against Ohio State. So if he can do it against Ohio State, he can do it against Penn State. I don't mind the price of 5.5. Raheem Jarrett is worth a look at 4.8 now. Now he's cheaper than Carrera, but GBP play, I don't mind Carlos Carrera at all at 5.5. And that's pretty much it from this game. I'm not touching running backs. I think Parker Washington's a decent play at 5.5, the receiver. And that's it in this game, DFS purposes. And now, actually, wow, we're done the last game already. Michigan State and Purdue. We got Michigan State on the road. 3-point favorite, 28 implied. Purdue, 25 implied. At home, over under a 53. So first of all, now let's talk about Purdue's quarterback. Aiden O'Connell, he's only 5'6". May think I'm crazy, but I do have a little bit of interest in Aiden O'Connell, 5'6". He's I mean, he's actually been efficient. Let me see. He's thrown for 1,500 yards in a season, 1,551, 9 touchdowns, 8 picks. But he has completed 71% of his passes. No, actually, I don't think there's a quarterback on the slate that's got a higher percentage. He doesn't. Tanner Mordecai's got a second at 70% completion rate. So, I mean, he's played conservative, but at 5'6", you could probably do a lot worse than Aiden O'Connell. We saw him against Iowa week 7, 31.8 fantasy points. He threw for 375, 2 touchdowns, so we know he's got it in him. They're going against Michigan. You know, they're home underdogs. Negative game script. So, and right now, Michigan State is allowing the 4th most passing yards per game this season, 301, and the most pass attempts per game, 47. I've been talking to a lot of people. We know the Michigan State pass defense can be beat. Some of this defense you want to start picking on. So, I don't mind Aiden O'Connell. GDP probably only, but no problem playing him. Staying on the Purdue side, David Bell. David Bell is a stud. At 7'4", he is matchup proof. We can see him have a monster game, and we know what Michigan State is beatable in the secondary. I love David Bell at 7'4". It may be tough to get him in your cash games, but top receiver on a slate at 7'4", just like we said it was last week. On the Michigan State side, Kenneth Walker III, 8'6". It's a tough opponent, but Kenneth Walker III is going to get his 15 to 20 carries. He's going for the Heisman. Is he cash play? Yeah, if he can run for 5 touchdowns and 20 yards against Michigan, he can do it anywhere. We saw what Wisconsin backs did against Purdue. I don't mind Kenny Walker III at 8'6". Probably not cash, but I'm in love with Ward. I'm in love with Smith. But Kenny Walker III is right up there too as a cash/GBP. Anybody else? We want to pay attention to Jalen Nailor status. Nailor's a stud receiver at 5'9", but he may not play. If Nailor doesn't play, we probably have found our value play in this Foster kid. He's only 3K. And why can't I find his stats here? Montorie Foster, 3K. So if Nailor's out, I think you lock him in. You can also lock in Jalen Reed, who's a stud at 6'4". But Montorie Foster is possibly our scrub play, our 3K play. We should like to get the one receiver in our cash lineups. It would probably be Montorie Foster on the slate, especially if Ole Miss, like if jumping place for Ole Miss. Anybody else? Nope. But pay attention to the Nailor status on Saturday. Probably it is a late game, so we may not know. Check on in our Discord, a free Discord. But I do like Montorie Foster at 3K as a scrub punt/dart play. It's going to get some action if Nailor's out. All right. Well, look at that. We rolled through almost an hour in 13 games. Okay, we have also before I do PrizePicks, we actually have a new sponsor for the show. It's called OzJam. OzJam. If you don't know what OzJam is, go to the website OzJam.com. Check it out. It's kind of an innovative new design to identify odds, to make you the winner pretty much every single time you play. What they do is they take real-time data, they spot discrepancies between different sports books, kind of like what we do here. We spot discrepancies for like a FanDuel or DK, and they help you place risk-free bets. Profits are about 3%. I'm seeing profits are about 3% on every day, which ends up big earnings. So check out OzGM.com. It's a new site, cool concept. I was just checking it out. We have a video here to show you. Oh, nobody doesn't want to play? All right. Either way, we got the website, PrizeJam.com. I'm playing. All right. So once again, PrizeJam.com. They're sponsoring the show. Check them out. New site, innovative design. Pretty much get winners every single time they're out there. PrizePicks, another one of our sponsors. Let's see what we got for PrizePicks this week. I think the board is out. We've been doing really well on PrizePicks, especially on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday games. This week, what we have here, let me see if I see somebody really quick here. Let me see Sam Howell, 33.5. That's probably right. Let's look at some rushing, some running backs. What do we got for? Let me go down a little bit here. Go by all these quarterbacks here. Okay, Jalen Warren, 101.5. That's probably fair. Man, this prospect's kind of tight this week. And I'm going to find somebody here. Jerome Ford, 97.5. That's probably tight. Man, there's no running backs that jumping out at me either. Let's look at receivers. I'll actually, and when we spend more time on PrizePicks, I'll do actually the real plays in my top plays article. Tavion, no. Let me see here. So, man, this is tight this week. Donnie Gray possibly over 84.5 for SMU. Don't mind that play. Tay Martin, 77.5 over receiving yards, Oklahoma State. I'm a big Tay Martin guy this week. Not bad. And going back to, let me see, receptions. Man, there's not a real lot here. Chris Olave over 4.5. Take that. Josh Downs 8. That's tight. Take the Olave. And anybody on? Let me see. Passing touchdowns. Sam Howell over 2.5. Yep. Hartman over 2.5. Both those guys take the overs. Tanner Mordecai probably over 3. There's gonna be a lot of points scored in that game, so probably over 3 for Tanner Mordecai. Rushing touchdowns. Zamir White, yes, over 1 touchdown. Zamir White, he's gonna get you 2. Trey Siggers, who I mentioned earlier, especially if Belly doesn't play, Siggers take the over 0.5. You'll get 1 touchdown, and that's Jalen Warren over 0.5 touchdowns. That's probably for PrizePicks. So couple kind of like what your whistle a little bit. Once I spend more time looking at PrizePicks, we'll have in the article the top plays. So now let's say Thursday, tomorrow we have a 2-game slate. I'll have a top plays out for that. Saturday, the slate was somewhat a huge 13-game slate, 7 p.m. slate, which we pretty much crush every week. We'll have a write-up for that one. We have the MAC is going on all week. College basketball starting next week. So much going on here. So check us out at yourfearlesschoice.com. $25 a month, first 2 months. And I think that's it. Thank you, Mickey, our producer. And we are out of here.
Yeah.
All right,
No
thanks.
pressure. Yeah. All we do is dress and rest. Yeah. Shit, we on fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. We keep it rockin'. pigs outside of my stoop. We keep it rockin'. They love to give us some play. We keep it rockin'. Homeboy, we got 'em.
Hit the club, roll with me, we gon' hit the club. I'm back now, my Mac down, on black like my background. From the back door to the VIP, no charge, I'm VIP. Jesse James don't need ID, reppin' FAM9D. Now go hop in the truck though, baby girl gon' move on your butt though. And you know I'm still rollin' with the thugs though, so holla if you need, cause I'm cut though. All about the paper, see you later, cause I don't wanna date her. Nah, that's not my flavor, and I'm high as a T.O. skyscraper. You know,